He's trying to be funny, but.
Was not thinking about to make it funny.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to call our meeting to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, welcome to all of you who have come tonight, and we welcome you and your interest in our school district and our children. We have anyone that's online, Jared?
Not currently.
Okay, I will be. Okay. If anyone wants to speak, please make sure that you have signed up. Okay. Okay, and so Bella, I just want to confirm, because are you here with part of Shane's report? Did you say that?
Yes, I'm here as part of Shane's report.
Okay. And the reason I asked that is because, like the last time, if you're here as public input, I can only give you 3 minutes, but if you're here as part of Shane's report, then we will put you in that area of the agenda.
Thank you.
And then you will be able to speak as long as you need to speak about what you're speaking. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I guess I should ask approval of the board. That's not just my decision to make. So are all of you okay with Bella speaking during Shane's report as part of Shane's report?
Yeah, that was the plan.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Yeah. All right, sounds great. And I'm going to write the date up here so that we have that. All right, so we are at agenda changes.
Kevin.
Nope. All right, we're moving right along. Consent agenda, approving the minutes of the October meeting and approving the surplus list.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
I have a motion to approve the consent agenda. Do I have a second? Second. I have a motion and I have a second to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion?
I'd like to know a little more about the rubber matting that's on the surplus.
I believe it's the old rubber matting that came out of the weight room when they redid the weight room. They put in new rubber matting.
Okay. Okay.
And
I saw gym
go ahead.
flooring. I think, well, if we need it in the gym, why do we not need it now? We replace it with something or?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's from the old weight room.
And then what do we do with surplus equipment? Does it get sold? Does it get just?
Yeah, so once you officially declare it as surplus, then we can make it available to the public, and there are rules with how we post that and share it,
Okay.
but it makes it possible
Okay.
for us to put it up for sale.
Okay,
And there are rules that we have to follow through that sale.
okay.
I guess additionally, what happened to the weight room?
They had, was it a grant they got?
Yeah, they received a grant, so it was refurbished. Looks fantastic.
Yeah, it does. It's pretty nice.
So we got new
Is it working
equipment.
for you all?
I haven't been in there yet, but it looks really nice.
To sort of dovetail off of Bob's question, have we considered repurposing that flooring into a smaller space and recovering what might be reusable into somewhere that needs a softer landing, or offering it to Driftwood?
Don't think we have a place for it, which is why it was turned surplus. I see wheels turning around to.
Potentially see it possibly in the staff gym area. I will check into that.
Yeah, once you declare it surplus, it's nothing that would keep us from pulling it back if that was.
Yeah.
Because I was just mostly curious about why is this surplus that they also.
No, that's surplus. The items are items that we don't use anymore.
That I understand.
That's not the repurposing piece. We do try to do that as much as we pull
Okay, any other discussion?
You like to add something to the surplus?
Yes,
It is too late.
we'd have to make that another one.
The only thing is it's those old cafeteria tables that we discussed.
Yeah, let's get those on the list.
All right.
We would have to look at the minutes.
I think they were previously done.
I thought we had passed that item on before.
Okay.
Whether the old cafeteria tables from the high school had been surplus or not.
That was done quite a while ago.
Oh, okay, great.
Chat.
Find a home.
Okay, any other discussion? I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All of those who vote yes, please raise your hand. It's unanimous. All right. We have no public input. And so we're at reports. Student representative. Oh, educational spotlight, sorry.
Me first.
I just need a space there between all of those bold printed words. My eyes are getting older.
You're still being part me. Okay. I think it'll let me share one here.
Ashley, it's sure good to see you. Haven't seen you. for-
Hi, guys. Good to see you too.
I got to see Brittany the other day. I never see Ashley.
Good. Did it. Don't do that. Okay. Good. Hello, school board. How are we doing this evening? Thumbs up, thumbs down. How are we doing? That's what I do to the students. Sorry, bad habit. I was invited to come here tonight as educational spotlight, but as I told Quinn earlier, the educational spotlight is always on me, so I'm not sure where you guys missed that memo, but I'm going to talk about SEL tonight, which stands for social emotional learning, and what we're doing here in the district to support that, and some changes and things that have happened in the state of Oregon and why it matters. I am going to just do a little like show of hands. So you guys know what SEL is? Like, have you heard that before too? Okay. So some people haven't, including teachers and staff. They're like, what does SEL stand for? I think I'm so used to it being thrown around pretty casually. But basically it's just learning how to be a human. I mean, that's how I would describe it. This is a better definition. So it's an integral part of education and human development, helps us basically manage emotions, achieve personal success. It's just that human part versus the academic part, but we are going to talk about how it integrates into academics because it does. We are going to talk about CASEL. So CASEL is kind of the gold standard for SEL. It's the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning. That's what that stands for. They do a lot of research and good things based out of there. So those are the 5 competencies that CASEL has come up with that is that SEL is focused on. So self-awareness, self-management, responsible decision-making, relationship skills, social awareness. I think we could all probably agree that those are pretty important things to have competency and strength in. So there's been lots and lots of research about SEL and the importance of it in school. I'm not going to get into all of that with you guys, but just know that it consistently demonstrates that it benefits students across the board and across their lifetime. So it's not just in one aspect or facet of their life, it's in all of them. And I mean, our teachers and staff do this every day with kids anyway. I think some people hear SEL and it's like, oh, we're teaching them, you know, something a parent should be teaching them or whatever it might be. But really, it's just those conversations of like, how do we solve a problem? You know, how do we handle conflict? How do you like go about your day when your feelings are hurt? So just talking about those things and knowing those things, it helps you not only be a better human being, but it helps you be a better student. Because when you feel safe and supported and like safe in yourself as well, you're able to learn, right? It puts you in a position where your brain can actually take information in. So those are the things, just some of the components that SEL is shown to be beneficial in. These next few slides are taken directly from Castle. Again, I'm not gonna go over, and I can share this slideshow with you all if you want to review it for later. I would really encourage you to go to the Castle website. They have a lot of good information. But again, it's that research that really supports why SEL is important. So this is specific to academic achievement. We have studies as recently as 2022 that show it has a consistent positive impact on student academic achievement. And then back to 2011, which doesn't seem that long ago, but it kind of was. That brain science shows that social, emotional, and cognitive development are intertwined and integral to academic learning and success. I thought that was a pretty important one. So again, I won't read all of those. This one talks about improved student well-being, so just their overall well-being, how SEL helps reduce symptoms of depression and anxiety in the short term, but it's also showing those decreased emotional distress, fewer externalizing behaviors, so just those long-term positives as well. Key to future readiness, it does impact what they do with their life. Because again, if you feel like you know how to manage yourself, or you even know who you are a little bit and how to handle the world around you, you're better able to take on challenges and be a little bit more resilient. And SEL helps with that. So again, we have a name for it, but it's really just humanness. It's just how to be a human, how to interact with each other, and how to sort of interact with yourself. School climate and safety also is an improved facet when it comes to SEL. So again, the research supports that teaching those skills improves that across the board. So I won't get into that. So this is SEL in Oregon. So we're a little bit behind, not gonna lie to you, Oregon State is. We just in 2023 implemented a framework like that is statewide, and basically it says schools have to have an SEL plan. They have to be teaching it, they have to be implementing it, and this is what that can look like. I put this up here, these fun little names, because our school's on here, because I sort of helped write those. There we are. It's wrong because we're not the Langlois School District, but you know, we take what we can get. So I was on that committee. I'm not gonna say I did a lot. There was a lot of other people that did a lot of awesome things there, but I was a part of it, so I got to have my name on the wrong school district. But hey, we're on there, right? It's half right, and they spelled Langlois right, you guys. So it was a win for all of us. But no, so I was a part of the process before they officially interviewed or implemented it. And again, we're a little behind the times. Washington has had an SEL standard in place for a long time, California, a long time. So it's interesting that Oregon we just kind of got there. I think we've been doing it, but we just legally got there. This is sort of their Oregon's transformative SEL. So this is their visual for what they're trying to do. The guiding principles of SEL encompass adult SEL, which then encompasses student SEL, and then that is conditions for learning and thriving. So that's kind of their thought. This is the straight from the Oregon Department of Education website. I'm not going to read all of that to you, but I just wanted to point out that now it is a law that we teach and implement SEL in our district. So we have been doing that anyway, but now we have to, even if we didn't want to. So district-wide, we have 2 programs that we are running, Sources of Strength, which I talked about before. And then we recently just implemented Wayfinder. So Wayfinder is basically an online platform, and it was provided to all South Coast schools through the ESD. So that's pretty amazing because it does not come super cheap. Good SEL, good anything curriculums don't. And it is based in the Castle, like I talked about earlier, those standards, those competencies. Wayfinder is based in those. There's research backing it. It's a pretty slick platform. All of our teachers were trained in that in September, I think September 20th. And if I gave you a login right now, or like just had logged in and showed the screen, you could you could navigate your way around that pretty easily. It's a pretty nice system. Sources of Strength, that's really where the focus is. All of our teachers, K through 6, we're taught taught how to teach it, I guess. So last year I was teaching it. This year I taught them how to. So the idea is that they're implementing it in the classroom, because if all that research shows you anything, it's that it's important, and it coming, you know, from me once a week or once a month isn't enough, right? Like we need that consistently. Just so we need a math, you know, how to learn math consistently and reading consistently. Like we need those lessons consistently. So sources of strength is the primary curriculum we have. Wayfinder this year is supplemental. So that's what we are messaging to the teachers, specifically Driftwood was like, hey, here's your sources of strength curriculum. You need something or want something else, use Wayfinder to supplement. So that is hopefully what they've been doing. It's pretty new that we're having the teachers do that. So it's going to be a journey and we're going to just have to, you know, take the challenges as they come. But so far, so good. I think we asked them to teach it half hour a week.
Yeah.
Was the sort of the goal we gave them. So starting them out real small and sort of guiding them into that. So those are the two programs we have across the district. And this was kind of out of place, but Addie's Act, we can't really talk about SEL without talking about Addie's Act. Can I get a little hand raise if you know what Addie's Act is? Okay, so Addie's Act is an Oregon law that was passed because of a trans student that took their life. And it basically says that any school in Oregon has to have a suicide prevention plan. Okay, so we have one, yay. But that's all that to say, part of our prevention and part of doing these things, not because we should or whatever, but part of teaching SEL is preventative in the suicide prevention part. So that is in our Addie's Act, just so you know, this is directly from our Addie's Act protocol. So sorry, that was a little bit out of place, but I wanted to make sure we talked about that. So Driftwood, I mentioned, like I went over a little bit what they're doing. But so that's the sources of strength wheel. I believe you guys have seen that many times. But yes, Wayfinder and sources of strength. So sources of strength, just to give you that little review, is preventative. It's strengths-based curriculum. So in its essence, sources of strength is a suicide prevention program, but K through 6, that's not what they're doing, right? It's an SEL curriculum. And hey, when things get hard, what can we focus on? Like, what do we have in our life? So that's the basis of that. Myself and Miss Fleming are coaches. So that means we can train others on how to teach the curriculum, which is what we did at the beginning of the year. Mrs. Boak was one as well, but she went to Bandon. So she is able to take that with her, which is good because that means it'll get spread, hopefully. All Driftwood teachers, I mentioned that were trained during in-service week on how to teach that. Also trained September 20th in Wayfinders. And then yes, the 30 minutes per week, that is Driftwood's goal. I took some of these pictures. This is just around the school. It's very hard to see, but I thought I would share. So this is what's being done. This is in a 5th grade classroom. She has the wheel parsed out and like little smiley faces for the kids. And then I think they focused on healthy activities, and it was like, if they could name one, they put a sticker in there. So like it has all their names on it. These are sources of strength posters from 3rd grade. So this is just like what brings you strength. So this is all the kids' art. That's from 6th grade. And they actually wrote like, if they have family support, who supports them, positive friends, they wrote positive friends on there. So it's being done in the classrooms. Like I said, it's going to be a slow process, but some of them have jumped right in, which is great. So, and then at the high school, we also have sources of strength. It's a different model up here. It's not the SEL curriculum. It is a peer leader, peer-led adult supported program. And that's basically focusing on school culture. You know, what can we do to make sure people feel welcome and supported, and planning fun campaigns. I've received 2 grants to support this program. It's very important to the state of Oregon that we do this. So if you ask for money, they're pretty much going to give you some, which is great. We have adult advisors that include myself, Mr. Jones, Senora, Miss Brittany, Miss Shayla, Mr. Brown is one, Miss Hill. So we have adults that are invested in this, and we have kids that are invested in this. I will tell you, we had our adult advisor training with Myrtle Point, and I've been talking with the Myrtle Point counselor a little bit about doing some collaborative stuff maybe. And they have, I mean, Myrtle Point is bigger than us, probably about twice as big, I would say. They have 5 peer leaders. We have 20. So our kids, their hearts are in it. Like the intent is there. The adults that are here, they care about the kids. So it's budding and it's new and we have to kind of figure out how to navigate it because it's also not something we want to just shove in everyone's face. But it's going well so far. So that's what we're doing up here. The teachers do have access to Wayfinder up here. We did not say, hey, you have to teach X amount of minutes, X amount of days to the high school teachers. And the reason for that is it's a little bit more jarring when you have different periods and it's a little bit more structured, right? And the credits matter more up here. Not that it doesn't matter at Driftwood, but teachers plan for their time in a much different way up here. And so we didn't want to just throw that in their face and make them not want to do it. It has to be done with fidelity and it has to be done in a way that's that the teachers have buy-in to. So they do have access. I encourage them like, hey, if you have a, like an English lesson or a science lesson about the brain or, an English lesson about like a personal narrative, they're writing those in one of the English classes right now. Like look up an activity on there and just have them do it. And I know some teachers have done that. I've asked them and they're like, yeah, I've gotten in there and it's pretty easy. So it is being done. It's just not being shoved in their face right now. That's it. I'm done talking now. Does anyone have any questions, thoughts, or concerns? Yes.
So I would have to give you a good gold star for having that many students involved.
I get a gold star.
Because they didn't just come forward, they had to be nominated.
That's correct. Yeah. So
And then agree to do it.
That's right. That's exactly right. And we did lose some, I'm not gonna lie to you. So it is the adult advisors, the ones you saw up there, aside from a few of them that were last year, we nominated the students based on just who we thought. They tell you sources of strength when they tell you, or when they train you, they say, try to get kids from different social backgrounds, different social circles, different, like not all the same kids that are doing the same things. It's kind of hard in our little school. But so yes, they were adult nominated. I also have some ones that were peer nominated. So we let them do that. And yeah, the kids are showing up and they're saying, yeah. So some of them that went to the training, I think there were 4 that decided like, hey, it's not for me. But that's all I asked of them. I said, hey, if you come, just try it. And they tried it and it wasn't for them. And that's okay. So we still have about 20 sources of strength to implement their secondary model up here with fidelity. They suggest representing 10% of your population. 20 kids is like 20% of our population. So good stuff. Yeah, thank you. You were gonna say something?
Well, I just want to make sure.
Yes, sir.
So by having a robust sources of strength program and curriculum in the school, we can then say that we have everything in place we need to meet the new Oregon law
That's correct.
requiring SEL to be in place.
That's correct.
Okay. So I'm a little concerned then. I heard you use the term
That's okay.
teacher buy-in.
Yes.
Okay, and things like this.
Yes.
If this is law, I'm questioning where we allow teacher to have buy-in. It's just something that has to be happening.
We will get there.
So what's our accountability?
And that's a great question. Here's what I'll tell you and
Speak to that a little bit too.
yeah, go ahead. I'll let you take that, Mr. Brown.
So, at the
Tell me.
elementary school, we did have all teachers report back on when they would be implementing these on a weekly basis. And that way, if Ashley wants to step in and either observe a lesson, perhaps even if the teacher requests it, to have her lead a lesson, that's happening. So we know it's happening. We know what day and time that is happening at K-6. As Ashley mentioned, it's a little harder up here because they're shuffling around. We do not currently have a homeroom period built into our schedule. That is something that we are looking at potentially for next year to build in. And if we were to do that, that would be the period where we would require grades 7 through 12 have that time. At least one of those homeroom periods every week would be an SEL-based lesson. It's also a little different at the high school in that, especially the Wayfinder curriculum is really great because you can get very specific as far as subject area that you teach and grade level. and it'll immediately pop up with all these activities that you could implement for that grade level, that area.
Pretty slick.
They're also getting some things because it's not necessarily in the classroom setting. So where Wayfinder really sort of honors the 7 through 12 experiences, they're getting away from the, well, tell us how you feel that, and it's really, what are your goals in life? Do you have goals in life? Let's develop your goals in life. What skills and attributes are you going to need to be successful? And setting a pathway forward, and teachers can then sort of draw from Wayfinder. And it's about building that skill, those skills that those kids need to be successful in the pathway they've chosen. So it really sort of honors just sort of where our K through 6 kids are, and where, you know, where we have seniors that are getting ready to step into the workforce. Like, am I ready for this? If I'm not ready for this, what skills do I need to be ready for this? And really sort of, I guess, Ashley, I'm sure there's some great jargon that you've been taught in all your education.
Oh, yeah, it's there.
Really sort of instilling in them sort of that, I guess, self-improvement, that growth mindset of, I need this skill and I'm going to develop it. And so that's the hope with that Wayfinder, and also sources of strength. But Wayfinder especially really sort of, as they come up through the grades, when you get up into the higher grades, it's not so much the sort of, you know, baseline work as far as, you know, I know how I'm feeling and I can identify how I'm feeling. It's more along the lines of, I've identified all that. You know, now I'm at a point in my life where I'm really sort of focusing on, you know, myself and self-improvement and that growth mindset piece. So.
And I will piggyback off that and just say
Yes.
the good news is that we are ahead of the curve in terms of, if we're just talking like, requirements of Oregon, because we've been doing this. I've been here, this is my 4th year, and we've been doing SEL lessons since I got here. So that's good. There are schools in this state that had that transformative framework delivered to them, and we're like, oh, I guess we have to figure that out. So that is good news, in that the teachers have already heard it. They already, you know, have experienced my part in it. And I think it'll be a lot easier of a transition than potentially some other districts that maybe didn't have that. So, yeah. And what sources of strength and Wayfinder will tell you when they train you and when they give you access to their platforms is, you want buy-in as much as possible. So you're absolutely right. We do reach a point where it's like, hey, this is part of the job now. Like, you got to get there. And at some point, there may be people we get there with, but if we can do this gently, it will go better for us in the end. And so so far it's been, I would say, overall good. Overall good. Not perfect, but overall good. Yeah, in terms of feedback.
Thank you.
So I have a question or Ashley, don't be you. Oh, it's for Courtney. Okay. Courtney, there's going to be days where you just regret that you got on the board with me. But I've known Courtney forever, and she's always had, you know, well thought out ideas.
Oh, yeah.
All of that. And so I ask you from that thing, because I have a lot of admiration for you. And so,
No pressure.
yeah. So what are you thinking as a student? Because in reality, we all know that in our humanness, people can be very cruel. And that can happen, especially in the middle school, high school age level and stuff, where you're still developing some of those skills on how to be more tactful.
Unheard of.
I'm 61. I'm still not there yet. So anyway,
Yeah.
So it's not like we're expecting it to be like night and day and stuff, but are you noticing changes within the student body of like their attitude? And I ask because I'm very passionate about social emotional learning. I've also known the research for years about, you know, they even say going to kindergarten, it's more important than knowing the letters of the alphabet and how to count to 20 is to be able to get along, manage yourself, and all of that. So what are you thinking about it? Are you seeing a change? Because it's kind of a culture and an attitude that needs to happen.
I think that there's definitely a change, and
like a good change because I mean, you kind of see it all throughout the school as like everybody's kind of a big community here. And we all have like our bad days. And then sometimes you say something that'll hurt someone's feelings, but then the next day everybody's all like friends again. And I think we really have a good support system here. I know that a lot of people like there was a email sent out and we filled out some things and it's like who do you trust and all this sort of things. I know a lot of people just had a long list of people that they trust here. And there's people that you can go to talk. And I know that ASB, there's a lot of leaders there. And it's a pretty good system here, I'd say.
All right.
I'm proud to be here because I think it's a great community at our school.
All right. I'm proud that you're here.
I think we should adjourn.
But thank you.
Right now.
Oh my goodness. And I'm sorry. I know that sometimes it may seem like I put you on the spot, but I really am sincere. I really think that you have some really well thought out ideas. And I think that you're a very good representative of the student body and have kind of a pulse on how things happen. And so I really do look forward to your opinions and your thoughts about different things like this, because that's part of what we're here for as a school board is, to try to develop that sense of community for all of you. So,
Good idea.
yeah.
Anything else? If you think of questions, you can always email me. I'll do my best to answer them. I am by no means in any realm an expert. There are much smarter people doing much more important work out there. But I love these kids and I love this community. And so whatever we can do to make that, what all the rest of Oregon gets come here, that's what my hope is. So I appreciate it.
I would just say thank you.
yeah,
And
of
I really look
course.
forward to hearing, 6 months or a year down the road where this is going. So.
Well, even just, and now I'm gonna get on a little side tangent, but this is my 4th year here and I did lessons mostly K-6. But even I did a suicide prevention lesson just the other day with our sophomores. And so I've had them, as 7th and 8th graders doing the suicide prevention and it hasn't always been easy. And they were so lovely for me. And so they did such a good job and they were engaged in the lesson they did. I mean, and like, I'm trying to zoom out of it. Like, it's not that just they were good, but they were listening and they were like, okay, like Miss Jones, we might not want to hear always what you have to say because it's but we're here and we're going to do it. And so even just that little piece, it takes time, especially in a small community. But I think we have lots of, like Courtney was saying, we have a lot of good supports here. And kids feel connected to adults. And that is, huge. So yeah. I appreciate the time. Like I said, feel free to email me. I'm happy to share the slideshow. Check out Castle. That would be my other suggestion to you. Other than that, I will yield my time. Can I stop? Or do I have to leave?
No, there's a stop sharing button.
Oh, you mean right in front of my face?
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
for your
guys.
work. And don't put yourself down because it's
Well,
not always the knowledge, it's the attitude and the heart that's important.
Because some knowledge, I just don't want it to seem like, I wrote the book. It'd be great if I did, but I appreciate it.
Being humble and acknowledging others is important. The brilliant brain needs to know.
Thank you. See, we're doing SEO right now, guys. Isn't that nice? I know. I'm gonna walk out here and with, thank you, with an inflated ego. All right. Excuse me. Didn't I start the presentation by saying the educational spotlight is always on me?
All right, we're gonna move on from that. And Courtney, now we get to hear your student representative report. Do you have anything you want to share with us?
I have a couple things. I know last time I talked about the Fall Fest and our plans for that. And I could say that went very well. We had a lot of participation. The Spirit Week dress up days, like almost everybody participated, activities. Some of them took a little more to get them to actually participate, but I think it was just full of fun and everybody had a good time and just everything went really well. So just want to say that went well. And then I know Shayla has been doing an application week celebration and she had an assembly where she invited the staff. They could share their story, what sort of jobs they had, if they were in the military, all sorts of things like that, just to kind of get the kids an idea of what their staff is like. And I know I learned a couple things about the staff that I had no clue. Like our shop teacher was born in Japan. I didn't know that. And we've been getting like little prizes for like submitting applications to colleges and scholarships and other things like that. And we have this little box that we can draw prizes from. And that I think is very fun. I know we're doing the Friendsgiving lunch, I think is what we call it, on Thursday.
That's the plan.
Yep.
You may have to get here by boat. You might see a lunch cruise.
But we are excited and ready to do that. And then I know we're also working on a Winter Spirit Week. It's still kind of in workings, and it's just we have a sort of set plan. But we're gonna do a basketball tournament as a part of it, and it's gonna be 3v3. There's a boys bracket and a girls bracket, and it's all gonna kind of depend on how many teams sign up, because you can have any grade, just 3 people, and we'll all have fun. And then the boys bracket, the first team will team up with the second place girls team, and they'll be a team. And then the first place girls team and the second place boys team will pair up, and then those 6 will play each other in a big game for the kind of final competition.
And who plays the staff?
That's right.
This guy's the tall man.
Yeah.
They can play the staff, but the staff gets an offensive side and a defense.
He still lose.
But I think that's gonna be really fun, and we're gonna have the kids wear their pirate gear as the Spirit weekday, just to kind of bring that spirit back. And then on Monday, we're gonna do a Christmas movie pie in the face trivia. And then our Spirit Week is gonna do wear your hats, gloves, scarves, snow attire, something like that. And Tuesday, we're gonna do a shaving cream Santa beard. And I think somebody's blindfolded and they put shaving cream all over. It's something fun. And then we're gonna have a toilet paper holiday costume. And then our dress up day is Santa Claus or Mrs. Claus versus the elves. Wednesday, we're gonna do gift unwrapping and then musical chairs with some Christmas music. And then also a candy cane scavenger hunt. We don't currently have a dress up day yet, but we're still working on that.
What was the Mrs. Claus thing?
It's a dress up day. Yeah.
It's not like a costume thing to me.
Yeah. Thursday, we're gonna do jingle bell stacking, holiday cookie decorating, and brick toss. And then we're gonna do a crazy hair day or a holiday headwear dress up day. And then on our last day, we're gonna have a Christmas movie and holiday treats. And then our dress up day is gonna be pajamas and a blanket day. And then we're gonna do points by percentage again, because that worked out pretty well for the Fall Fest. And we're hoping to see some of the same results and participation from the last one. And I think other than that, does anybody have any questions?
What's your movie gonna be?
I don't know yet. I know we discussed having one big movie in the gym, or we might continue to do what we do in previous years, where we have different teachers have different movies.
Oh, okay.
I don't have a question. I just have a comment, and I just want to give a lot of praise to Courtney and the ASB, and also our advisors for ASB, Senior Wyatt and Ashley Jones. I think there was something that was lost during COVID. You know, we came back from COVID and it was keep your distance from each other. It was, don't touch each other, and there was, I think, eventually we hadn't quite come back together. And so I know we were working towards the end of last year, we had a discussion with the ASB students, with the advisors, and saying, look, we really want to try to get just this fun school experience. We're going to focus on academics, sure, but as far as school culture, we we want to have those things that are fun that to again. And so far this year, just cannot say enough about, the advisors and ASB and what they've done to really sort of start to bring that back. And so my hat goes off to them. So want to not let that roll pass.
I'll tag right on to you, Shane. I 100% wholeheartedly agree with you. And when I hear Courtney talking about it as alumni of Pacific High School, I have to say, it reminds me of the good times that we had when we were students in this school. And, the memories, we haven't quite gotten back to the noise parades yet, which were fantastic. If you weren't here then, it was a logging community at that time, and the log trucks would be out, and each class would be on a flatbed trailer, and they would drive down Highway 101 through the street of Port Orford and basically scream, yell, make as much noise as you could as a contest. And you always had to see who could make the most noise and stuff. And then we would meet and have a big bonfire before having our homecoming game. And, the things like you're doing are the things that we used to do. And I think that it should be put out in the community that the school is moving back towards that, because you would have a lot of alumni who would relate to that and, continue building that relationship.
And I know I've already heard some of the plans for homecoming week to include floats again and to even be learning the fight song from our cheer club. And so I'm excited.
It's very exciting that the school is bringing a sense of community back to the community. So,
I would just like to add one last thing. I really think this school has a big community. Like, some of these kids have come in just this year and they already fit in perfectly, and we welcome them with open arms. And over there, we have kind of a collage of photos that we've been taking over the past couple months. And I know without the phones, we haven't been able to do this, but we have people that are taking photos. Like, Shayla's been taking photos and printing them, and the seniors got like this little camera with SD cards that we can take photos, and we just keep putting them up on the wall. And if you
It's possible to take photos without a phone.
but I just wanted to, like, if you look at them, you could see how close the people in this school are. Like, we all fit perfectly together, and there's always someone you'll fit in with. And it's a great school. I really do think we have a great community here, a lot of support.
is there any other questions for Courtney? Comments? I love you, Courtney. Okay, then Brittany is up. It's Brittany's turn with the summer learning program report. Okay.
Brittany, if you need any help with technology.
Oh, thank you so much. I was gonna ask, and then I was so scared. Okay, first I'd like to start by asking Courtney who's paying her and how much and how I could get on this because it sounds pretty good and maybe beneficial to me as well. And I also ran out and I didn't hear if she mentioned that the seniors won Spirit Week, which is always the most important part, in my opinion. So, okay, so for those of you who don't know me, my name is Brittany Pogwiz, and for this purpose, I am the summer program coordinator. This is my third year doing that, fourth year at school. So pretty proud to be doing that and to have it continue. Last year when I presented my summer program recap to the board, I told you about the 8 camps we offered over 6 weeks. This year I am presenting the 13 camps we offered over 8 weeks. We offered 5 more camps and we added 2 weeks to accommodate the increase this year. So I am super proud of that. here are all the camps we offered with my really pretty, I'd like to say, schedule. Color coordinated, of course. So it was a very busy summer. And I was a crazy person and I taught 3 of these while coordinating. So I won't be doing that again, but it was super fun while it lasted. Okay. So this year we had 101 students apply for summer programs. We had 98 students actually attend. Some did not turn in their application. Most of them were for kinder camp. We wanted to call those ones and actually get them in, get a feel for how the classroom was actually going to be when the school year started. Compared to last year, we had 98 students apply and 88 attend. So again, seeing that increase is huge for our district, especially when we look at our numbers. So that's super great, and I'm super proud of that. So part of our grant requirements is that we have to come up with goals. So our first goal is about student growth and achievement. And so we use iReady Diagnostics to assess students' knowledge and growth over the year, and also as they increase for grades, make sure that they're up to par. Looking at the fall average percentile with summer and without summer. Obviously, with summer, we had higher scores. I would love to say that that's all because they attended summer. It is not. We could probably assume that students with the higher percentile and also those who attend summer probably attend more during the year, and they probably are engaged more during the class. But I do think that being involved in the school over summer also retains that information a little bit better. So I would like to take a little bit of credit for it. I would almost argue that more importantly, our second goal is about feeling, the feeling of belonging and feeling of safety in our school. And we assess this over our seed surveys. The state gave us the seed surveys this year, and I will tell you that I hated them. They were 15 minutes long to complete for each student, and that's way too long. So we did not test everyone who attended. One, because the seed survey they gave us was 3rd and up. And when I was reading through it, I was like, this is not 3rd grade level. It is above 3rd grade level in comprehension. And also the typing skills are just not there for that long of a survey. And a lot of them were filling questions, not on a scale. And it was just not great. But I would like to say that out of the 41 students that did take the survey, 100% of them strongly agreed to all of these statements. So I feel safe at my summer program. I feel welcome at my summer program. I like going to my summer program. I'm excited to come to the summer program. I like the activities we do in my summer program, and adults in the summer program treat all students with respect. Okay. All of these questions have to do with their safety, them feeling welcome, and them feeling cared for, also respected as students. It's super important. So that's something that I'm super proud of. Again, I would go over the very, very long ODE provided C survey results, but it would just bore you, I promise. So that's my biggest takeaway from the summer. And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and play just some photos from summer. Okay. So as those play, I just want to say that for next year, our hopes are going to be pretty much the same. We want to see continued growth. We want to see children still participating in summer things. We want to provide things that students want to do. And we also want to provide things that teachers want to teach. So anything that teachers come to me with ideas, I am more than happy to look at and see if it's possible. We had a lot of new camps, and one of them being a horse camp. And we had kids go out and learn about horses and how to ride them and how to be safe around animals and all of that. And we did have to limit the amount of kids that we could do that with, just for the safety of it, and also the fact that we had to transport them in the van back and forth every day, but we made it happen. And I would not have guessed my first year that we would be able to. So super excited about that. Another goal for next year is to get early commitment from staff to say in January or February that they are willing to teach in the summer. And then we're hoping to do online applications as well. Takes so much time to sort through everything. So that would be one of my big goals as well. So does anyone have any questions?
How many staff people were involved?
Not off the top of my head, but a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. So, and we also, in the summer, we don't only employ current staff members, we also employ people out of our district and our community and all of that. So, yeah.
Good size number.
Yeah. Any other questions? Oh, and then the grant that we've been getting for the last 3 years, we are also going to have next summer. And so I think that we were at 70
About 70 grand.
70 grand.
Yep.
So a lot of that does go to staffing, but the majority of it goes directly to kids, supplies, and all the things. So. Anyway. But yeah, that's my little presentation. Again, summer is super important. Being in a small town, there's not always a million things to do, especially safe things to do in Port Orford. So I'm glad that us as a small district are able to provide this. Some of our districts right next to us, Bandon does not get the grant that we do. And yeah, and we also do provide this to students who are also homeschooled.
And it's also an avenue for those kids. They show up, they get breakfast, they get lunch, they get fed every day. And the grant that we're speaking of comes from the Oregon Community Foundation. We have one more summer that provides funding. And then we are hoping that the state gets their act together with their summer learning program and makes it equitable so that more than 60 of the 197 school districts get funded. I think they'll be doing that. So
yeah,
we have one more year with Oregon Community Foundation, and then the state's going to come through, and we'll be able to continue the great things that Brittany's putting together with our staff during the summer.
And then one thing that Mr. Brown and I and Mr. Miller have also talked about is providing something for high school age students, because currently this grant is only incoming K through 9. Now that's still a huge amount of our district, but it's not everybody. And it's just trying to get those things set up early and make sure that we have the dedication from students as well to show up. Again, my first year doing this, we had, I think 50 something, maybe 60 apply, but we only had 40 something actually attend. And so our numbers are increasing and the dedication to actually attend the things have been increasing. But we got to have that, again, those keyword buy-in from students if we're going to invest on having staff and planning and all the things. So yeah. Okay. Thank you guys.
And I think also, Brittany, I mean, you've done a wonderful job with the program. And one of the other things that I think, going back to our district and how fantastic our district is that, to my knowledge, our kids are not charged to come to this camp, whereas a lot of districts, the families have to pay for their kids to come. And our kids get some fantastic opportunities to experience things that they wouldn't normally get to experience. And all they have to do is make the commitment to come.
And that's really one of the goals is, yes, of course, we want the academic portion, which is always the Ready, Set, Learn is our biggest one. It runs the longest with the most amount of kids, but getting them engaged in any way in the summer is always a win for us. So whether that just means that they come to rock climb, or they come for basketball, or they come for chess, or they just come to ride horses, that's okay with me. As long as they're here, they're fed, they're safe, and they feel good. So anyway, thank you.
Having watched this program grow, Brittany, I'm just like so excited. Thank you so much for all your hard work.
Yeah, of course, keep having me back and we'll keep doing it.
It's a tremendous statement for 2/3 of the participants to not only say that they like going, they like learning what you're teaching
Yes.
or offering.
And they
To strongly agree, not just agree,
Yeah.
strongly.
And they also feel welcome and safe and respected in doing so. So I think that if we were to look at other districts in Oregon, we probably wouldn't see the same numbers, and I'm pretty proud of that.
Those numbers are consistent when we do her survey, when we do the student engagement survey, which I'm planning to share with you next month. We have great staff that engage our students, make them want to be here.
Last.
Okay. Mr. Miller.
My turn?
Yes, it is.
Okay, in your packet, you have my superintendent report. Let's see, community input meeting, that was Tuesday, November 12th. We had about 5 families, I think, show up, not as many as I would like. It was incredibly stormy night, so I'm blaming part of it on that. But we do have a survey that goes along with that meeting, gathering the same information. Last time I checked, I think we had 16 people had completed that survey already. We did get some good information from the meeting, had great discussion. Hearing the same thing from the people that showed up, that they just appreciate what staff do, like what's happening here. They are amenable, at least the group that was at the meeting, to moving forward and looking at our facilities and potentially adding to them if we come up with the right bond request. I'll share more about that a little later in my report. But it was a good meeting, and the information we're gathering from that and the surveys are going to help guide us in the direction we head, right along with the student surveys, and then looking at that information and seeing how we as a staff can address those concerns and those positives and the areas we need to work on. And even though we're doing a great job, keeping forward and doing better.
How long will the survey remain open?
You have not told me yet.
I haven't told you yet. Okay, so Brittany and I are going to determine that on Thursday. Get back. I want to look at how many people have returned the survey, and then I'm probably going to send out another reminder that it's there, and then it'll be about a week after that. So probably 2 more weeks. And we'll shut it down.
And I heard good things in the community about that meeting and then further discussion of sharing that information out. So even though it's
excellent.
small, it's.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let's see. Professional development on Friday, we had another good session with all staff, working on the lily pads and developing that shared vision for readiness for our kids, what it means to leave here and be life ready. And then also the different groups are still working on universal practices and elevating student voice. And I think I don't see that huge enthusiasm when they get there, that they're just chomping at the bit to go. But when I walk around to the groups and I listen to the work they're doing, it is all focused on what their topic is. It's all focused on student outcomes and teacher actions that will help get us there. So I think it's working really well, and we're going to stay focused on that and keep making progress on those areas that we know impact kids. Let's see. Facilities, I think I shared already that we've got those grants, the TAP grant. First assesses our facilities and shares some of the things that those inspectors notice that are in need of repair or maintenance or upgrading. The second portion of the grant is to create a long-range planning committee. And we held our first meeting last Thursday. It was well attended by teachers, we had administrators, we had kids. We had 3 representatives, 2 from middle school and 1 from high school. The next meeting will have another high school student, and I will have 2 or 3 parents involved too. I was late getting them on board. But the first meeting was really sharing the reports so I can update people on that. And then the next two meetings are going to be evaluating the different things that came out of those reports in terms of what needed to be repaired and addressed, and then developing a long-range plan with the third meeting for what the priorities are. And then both of those grants and all of that work, for me and my goal is for us to go out for a general obligation bond and see if we can get some money from our taxpayers so that we can upgrade our facilities, do some maintenance and repair work that needs to be done, and add some space where needed in the district. And again, both of those grants make us eligible for an awesome grant, Oregon School Capital Improvement Matching Grant. And that awesome grant at this point is up to $6 million in match. So if we as a community put in $6 million and pass that bond, the state will give us another $6 million to spend on our stuff. I did hear at the meeting that we had that there's potential that the legislature will bump that number up and possibly to 12 million. But just because there's 12 million available doesn't mean we would go for 12 million. We need to determine, that's what the long range planning committee in the process does, is determine those priorities, determine how much money there is so we hit the sweet spot of making sure we get enough to cover the items we want, make it low enough and economical enough that the community can support that. But again, getting everything for half price is huge. So looking at how that process turns out with the committee and the priorities. And then we'll be working with groups that help us communicate with community to determine level of support. And if we move forward with actually floating the bond in front of voters. So those are the steps I'm working on with that. And thank you to Bob and Corinne, they're your representatives on the long range planning committee for board. You guys had any comments to share about the process or?
Go, Bob. I was glad to see the student. Valuable input.
No, not yet, I guess. It was well attended. I was surprised a little bit by that. The summary reports that the group provided for us, there were a number of questions and corrections with minor details about the actual structure or facilities versus what was in the drawings that they had and like actual boundaries for the high school property and whatnot. But other than that, it was good to see an outside accurate assessment of what does it look like, because when you're someplace all day, every day, you kind of easily overlook things, or get used to them. So there was encouragement and discouragement there, encouraging in the sense that they didn't ever at one point says, well, forget that because that ain't ever going to happen. But at the same time, our buildings have some issues. We're below standard in terms of getting our buildings back to how they word that now. Not to today's standards, but trying to maintain by the standards for the time they were built. We're still in the 30 something percentile for this facility and only 60 something for Driftwood. So, there's been wear and tear. So the work is needed. They were encouraging, and they gave us an initial look at what needs to be done.
I think we all learned something, either about the facilities or the workings, or people who have worked here and gone to school here were able to provide insight, but then also learned things that they didn't know. I would say we all learned something.
What's the outcome of the field trip?
That there were a few discrepancies. Yeah, there was
So this mystery room that was upstairs though?
Oh, yeah. that was fun.
We didn't go to that.
It's not really a room.
I wouldn't call it a room, it's a mystery closet.
Yeah,
That's the room they used
there's a
to,
closet you can stand up in, but that's about it.
say, isn't that the room they used to store the prom decorations in?
I wouldn't be surprised. There's a bunch of trophies up there now, so. I have a feeling that's where my office is gonna get moved one.
I just thought one piece of plywood would make a great height.
There you go.
But again, thank you. If you have questions, that's what I have for my report.
Okay. Shane, I see Bella left.
Yeah, she did need to leave. She apologized. She had a lunch date or dinner date she had to get to. And so she asked me just to share, I'll include that. I want to start off, just talk about a couple things. And then. Yeah, that were not on my written report. So Shayla it's been mentioned by Courtney. She has been hard at work, talking to both our juniors and seniors about their next steps post high school. So she has hosted not only a junior jumpstart night where we talked about, hey, and you may think you still have half your high school years left, but it's going to go quick. And so we've already had conversations with them as far as being ready to go for senior year, things they can do their junior year to make sure that they hit senior year, hit the ground running. As far as college and career exploration and some of the things that Shayla can help them do as far as really beginning to explore a pathway after high school that they can then spend their senior year putting into action. So we had some good attendance at that. And then she also put on a senior FAFSA night, financial aid night. Again, very well attended. I think we had 10 of our seniors there, at least 9. I think one other showed up though. We had 10 seniors show up and get a head start on their jump start. Really give Shayla a lot of credit as she has found out what people have been wanting to do. She has been working the phone. She has found local internships for some of these folks. She's able to get folks in contact with people who run apprenticeships, college pathways, and she's been amazing at that. I would not blame them if they ducked out. So before they do duck out, if that's what they're planning on, they're planning an escape. I have to say this as part of our report. We have amazing classified staff. You've heard from 2 of them tonight. I've been able to brag on Shayla a little bit. What's that?
And not classified.
Whatever.
You can.
Non-certified staff. And so
Okay.
those folks who aren't necessarily when we think about teachers, teachers get a lot of the credit. And we have some great staff members who really make the world go round in our district, and 2 of them are here tonight. We have Shayla, who's just started out last year thinking she was just going to be in a little bit here in the library, maybe a little bit and helping out in the office. And literally 2 weeks in the school year, I said, "Hey, what do you think about being in the college and careers?" And she was just, yeah. And she grabbed the bull by the horns. And this year she's taking everything she's learned from last year and really taking it to another level. I can't tell you how much I appreciate her. I can't tell you how much the students appreciate her. She's making one-on-one time with all of our seniors to get them started. Courtney, you don't mind me saying, she was even working with Courtney one-on-one earlier today, about getting this OSAS scholarship applications going, and she's really doing that. I can't say enough about the staff that aren't teachers and what they bring to our district. Heather Valentine, our Title I aide down at the elementary. We've had our Title I teacher who's been out. So it was kind of a sub situation. The sub came in. They haven't been trained in Title I. Heather has. She's taken that bull by the horns. I was in there the other day, and kindergartners that couldn't read coming in are reading simple sentences about what Tom can do. Okay. And she's walking through that process. We're already seeing growth as a result of what she's doing down there. And so time and time again, we see our staff that aren't necessarily teachers stepping up and making things happen for our students in our community. And so I can't say enough about our teachers. We've got fantastic teachers, but I don't want to let them all pass. It seems like every time we're bragging on something for our district, there are staff that are not teachers that are the muscle behind a lot of what's going on. And a lot of them grown up here in the community or invested in the community. Just can't say enough about them. So those are two great things that we've had going on as far as the junior jumpstart and the senior financial aid night. We do have the Interact Club, which is put on by the Rotary, is really an extension, and that's why it was just gonna be a part of the principal's report. It's not necessarily a new club, they're just sort of formalizing what they're doing with peaceful schools. So if you're in peaceful schools, you're gonna be in the Interact Club. And so they've just submitted a charter to us and just so this is how they're gonna formalize that process. So Bella, who's here, she'll be the advisor. Rotary sponsors this club. And I think it's going to be a great addition, just to add on to what they've been doing there. If anybody would like to see the bylaws and some things like that, she left them here with me, but it's pretty much an extension of what they've been doing with peaceful schools. So you've all got a copy of the first edition of the school paper, so I'm happy to report that that's in place. I have never seen a school newspaper that looked like a newspaper. And so it's fantastic, and can't say enough about Amanda Carlton, who took journalism on this year. We sort of helped make that happen. You know, they're looking at starting to sell ad space for that newspaper and sort of making that a self-sustaining project, something that we can continue to do that pays for itself. So I know we've had community members, well, I want ad space, and so I think that's going to be pretty well supported. And so we do have, and the only other thing I wanted to report out on that wasn't on my written report, real quick, the iReady diagnostics. I apologize for not having those here. I just sort of got access and started learning. I will have those for you at the next board meeting. We basically have the baseline data, so hopefully I'll be able to start showing you where we're going throughout the year. I'm especially interested in reading and seeing what these Title I interventions are doing to drive growth as well. So the only other thing I wanted to mention that is not included on my written report, as everybody knows, we've had some turnover with our staff. I was able to meet with all the math classes today and sort of explain the pathway going forward. We have a pretty clear idea of where we're going to go with that for our upper division math. So we've been able to secure a long-term sub, which will help us get through the year. She's subbed. She's got strong math background, and she's been able to pretty much help through Algebra 2. And so I think she's going to be a great stabilizer, and really sort of, now that she knows she's here, she's going to be lesson planning and things like that. We've got a pretty solid plan for that. Everything above Algebra 2, I discussed with the students today. There's some options available to them. If they're in Algebra 2, they've probably already got the math they need to satisfy their graduation requirements. So there's an option to take online math as far as getting dual credit through another source, or taking just another online class if they just feel like it's just that point of the year, not going to start in a math class. So or filtering them into other classes that we have that class period. And so I'll be working with them in the days ahead to figure out exactly which option I'm going to go with and get them enrolled in online classes if that's what they're going to go with. And we'll be off and running and stable in that regard. Okay. Any questions regarding my report or what I've shared out this evening?
So I'm still processing the whole math class
Sure.
thing. Is one of their options to actually enroll like college credit math classes and start getting their college credits. You know, a lot of the community colleges now have online
Yeah,
classes
so
and stuff.
we looked at a couple different options. We working with our local partner SWAC. Their response was, well, if you find somebody who can teach college credit, would you send them our way? Went through the OIT, who we did have the agreement to offer dual credit for. They're looking potentially, they're actually piloting a hybrid program with Lost River right now in social studies dual credit, where they agree that it's going to be at a set time so that the instructor can zoom into the class and have actually synchronous instruction. Synchronous, asynchronous, I get lost sometimes. And then you have somebody that's in the room who's able to help the kids, you know, and do the work, and the person's on screen. So at any time, just like any class, they could chime in and ask the instructor a question. They're open to the possibility, if that works, then possibly next year being able to offer that sort of hybrid option for us next year. As far as this year goes, yes. We can't, so through BYU independent study, they can take a college credit math class through BYU independent study. And so that is an option for them. There wasn't a whole lot of interest in doing college credit math just all online. So I'm not sure how many of them are going to take us up on that, but it is an option. And we'll continue to work with OIT and see how this hybrid model works, and see if we can't make arrangements depending on how the hiring process goes for that. If the person we hire isn't able to get the correct credentialing through OIT, then could we take advantage of that hybrid model through them? SWAC has also expressed an interest that, okay, well, if we had a little more notice, could we work something out with them? And so there's some different things going forward that we can look at. We've got some options.
Thank you for that information.
So if the kids do decide they want to take, there isn't a cost to them, right?
They would not have to pay
Okay.
for it. No, that'd be something we would.
Okay.
Yeah, we take it.
Typically, we do have an agreement that anybody who takes an online course has, that if you fail the class, you pay for it. We'd be willing to work with them on this one. So OIT is just basically gonna drop everybody. They're not gonna charge us for it. And so, yeah, that's where we are, unfortunately, with that. So, as I told the kids today, I think they've been great. They've been, you know, resilient through the process, but at the end of the day, they got the short end of the stick on this whole thing. And we recognize that, as you know, it hasn't been anything close to ideal. Model that we've had with having different subs coming in on different days. Some had math backgrounds, some didn't, but I think we've got a stable plan going forward, and hopefully we fix it. Any other questions? All I have.
I do have one comment, Jane. And that is, Bob and Carol and I all went to the legislature roadshow. And we shared about how our school district and the idea of the Friday electives and things. And there was a lot of talk and enthusiasm about that. So for you and Aaron both, don't be surprised if at some point you may get a phone call. Carol had shared with me when she was at the convention and stuff that she was talking with a person who was actually a reporter.
As a journalist for OSBA, yes, that man, Jake Arnold, and he was like so excited about this Friday program. He's like, I might just show up in Port Orford, so.
I'll notify talent agent.
Yeah.
I haven't shared this with Shane yet, but I think there's good potential for us to be a presenter either the Small Schools Association or at the COSA conference in June. It's a great way to expand what we can offer our kids. They are loving it. For those of you in the room that are enamored with the 4-day week, sorry to share this, but that was one thing that came out at the parent community input session. One of the questions I asked was if there was interest in a 4-day week. And I shared a couple of things after they shared, but their biggest concern was whether Friday electives could go on a 4-day week. And there's potential that we could figure that out. But that was one of their big concerns, and that's a lot for how well they're going when parents know we're only, 9 weeks in, and it's already something that they want to see us continue. So good stuff.
It really leverages that half-day.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Well, anyway, so I wanted to just share that with you of how much you're appreciated also.
I appreciate the appreciation. Yeah. I can't let them pass. You can't stress it enough. Staff made that happen. I presented that as an option, and they could have shot me down, and I wouldn't have, that would not have moved forward. It was, staff was willing to talk about it, look at it, and they made it happen, and they're the ones making it happen. I mean, the staff wasn't in the classrooms making that a great experience for the kids. Doesn't matter how great of an idea it was, it wouldn't have the traction it does. And so can't say enough about the staff and the teachers that made that happen. I
noticed that they're happy. I went last Friday and I got my fanny kicked in chest by an 8th grader. I saw podcasts happening across the hall. The staff were enjoying it just as much as the kids. Good.
Shane, I
Good
have to tell you, I'm
options.
really glad for the RPG club doing SEL. I think that's a really fun exploration.
Yeah.
And glad to see the possibility of a homework club, I think that tutoring session and the ability for kids to have an anchoring moment of catch up.
Yeah, I think what I love about the idea that we have for homework clubs so far, if we get off the ground, there's an opportunity for high school students to earn some of their community service hours by offering that tutoring. It's great. We'll see how that goes. And actually, yeah, it's the one to say for the RPG club. It's going to be great. And so yeah, so she's the advisor for that, and I know it already has a lot of interest. In fact, it's got a wait list, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, they're all, I actually had sorry, I know I'm not allowed to speak, but I'm breaking rules. I had a 6th grader yell like near me today. Well, can I do it because they can't? I'm like, first of all, it's all right. We'll get there. But yes, they're all very excited and they all want to do it. So we had our first session today and it was so fun. So I know Heather's excited. We were all like, so yeah, it's gonna be good.
Are there any other questions? All right, transportation, Chad submitted another report this month. Any questions about it? Okay. Move on then. Technology report with Jared.
I don't know that I have too much to add. I am looking at the possibility of moving our website development out from being localized here in the school to having somebody take it over. Brittany has done a fantastic job in helping with it, and we're doing a very good job, but there's a lot of new laws and stuff that have passed, and we need to make sure we're fully ADA compliant, which means for sight and visual impairment and everything. And I just don't know that we have the people in-house to be able to do all of that. And not only do you have to make sure that it is ADA compliant for standard screen sizes, but also for mobile devices. So that's building a mobile website and building a normal website. So at this point, I think it's just become too big of a project for the district. I have a few bids that are out there, and I've got my feelers out trying to get some information. But right now, it's going to cost us, by the look of it, about $4,000 a year for somebody else to run it. That's the cost of we have to do it. So, and then PC repair has been going well. All the students are pretty excited about it. I had a doctor's appointment with the wife this last Friday, so Mr. Brown actually had to sub. It sounds like it was pretty adventurous. The students were trying to solve things on their own and learn to. They found that while I say it's easy to just Google something and do it, they're finding it's not just as easy as Googling it and doing it. So they're like, oh yeah, well, we tried that and then that didn't work. So we had to then try this other thing and that kind of worked. And then, so they found that it's not just oh, you Google it and you have the answer. You have to kind of put the pieces together. So they're quickly finding out what I have to do when I don't know. But they are all enjoying it. There's a lot of enthusiasm for it. I mean, even during the week, I'll stand in the hall or something and they'll just stop by and they'll, hey, I got a quick question about this and this. And so they're engaging with me constantly about it. And they're also repairing all the Chromebooks. So I don't have to do that. So, so I think we'll actually have, over the next 2 Fridays where we have the program, I think we'll have all of the Chromebooks repaired that can be repaired. So,
Wow.
Which is pretty substantial because I think we started with 27 damaged Chromebooks or Chromebooks that weren't working in some capacity. And it'll be over the course of about 4 Fridays they'll have repaired all of them. So, and I've only done 1. So 26 by the students in the class. So
It's a highly technical process. When I was subbing for them, literally one student brought up a Chromebook, shook it by their ear and said, I think we got it. Yeah. I am not making that up.
I know exactly what Stevie did. And that was his job for that class period, was to get rid of the rattle in that Chromebook.
But I tell you right now, I had a student share with me yesterday that computers and IT tech and support is now a career option because of the experience they've had in that class now. So it's a good thing. Yeah. And my spidey senses get a little, because I walk in the classroom, I got a Chromebook literally in 50 pieces. And they're teenagers putting it back together, but they
work when they're done.
Doing it. They're doing it. And so it's good stuff.
We're growing our own. Jared's future assistant.
And I learned here and now I'm back here working. So the fact that I can train these students and that kind of stuff. And we've trained a few in the past. I know some have gone in the military. One of them's a network engineer now. He's like one of my contacts. I'm like, hey, I'm having a network problem. And he's like, oh yeah, did you try this? So I'm not only helping build these students, but I'm also building a network to help me later on. So, but yeah, no, so technology's going great in the district so far. I think we're doing what we normally do, which is trying to stay as cutting edge as we can, as much as budget will allow. And I think we're doing a good job.
Thank you. Okay, financial report with Tara.
So Tara was out ill today. We do not have a written financial report for you. I can share that our ending fund balance is still sitting strong. We are still waiting to hear and see the final impact of our switch to half-day kindergarten, because it does decrease funding by half. So we've got a pretty good idea of what that number is going to be, but for ODE to put it officially into our estimates has not happened yet. But I believe even with that, we're still sitting in a really good spot. We are talking about next year and determining, we've got some positions that we have not been able to fill, or that we have filled and they have been full-time positions, and we get half-time people. Those are classified positions that we've had open. So really looking at where everything is in the budget, seeing exactly who is in which line and where we have savings. And where, if any place, I've added some cost. And then we're putting those plans together for next year. We do believe that we'll have a good outlook with where we're at with ending fund balance and with the numbers we hear the governor and legislature are talking about. Should be sitting in a place where we can move forward with another hire or two, because people are what make the difference. 85%, close to 85% of our budget in any school budget is personnel. And the other 15%, there's not a lot of discretionary money there when you pay out for all the electricity and water. Well, not water here, but electricity and maintenance and all those things. There's not a whole lot of extra money. Biggest piece that we have is people that do great things with our kids. What we're looking to do is continue to expand the number of great people that work with our kids and give them more options. And then one thing I wanted to say before I take any questions, if you have any, I think you've heard tonight that our district is really living our maxims. Prepare for their future, help them navigate barriers and obstacles with grace, and then anchoring in their community. Our day job is the preparation piece. That's the academics and the skills that they need to be life ready. Navigating, you heard a lot about SEL and Wayfinder, different things that people do to make that happen. Summer programs make a difference there. All the things that Jared's talking about that he's doing with his kids, the elective pieces. We have staff that are finding ways kids to anchor in the community and make those real world opportunities available to them, because that's everybody goes to school and gets the credits. But if we can give our kids experience, that sets them apart right off the bat when they go into the workforce and into college. So I just can't. I have to tout those three things that we're working on, trying to make everything fit within there. But people are making it happen. Got good things happening for our kids because of it. So.
All right. We're at the longitudinal performance growth targets.
Okay, so these are. Good. You don't get to look at one. You've been looking at it enough.
Sure. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so what you have here are longitudinal performance growth targets. Still can't get that right, and that was my job for a year. Longitudinal performance growth targets. So we have certain data that the state requires us to look at, and it's actually the most critical data that we look at. They really have chosen good measures. Meeting or exceeding third grade reading proficiency. We have a backup item on this with our iReady scores. Attendance for all students, and then at the high school, students that are on track to graduate in ninth grade, 4-year graduating students, and then if you're not able to finish in 4 years, you're completing in 5. And Carol, I want to thank you for helping delineate how to share this out. And so as we do that, this is a work in process. So if there's something that doesn't make sense on here or you think could be presented better, I am all ears to do that. I would imagine that this form and this information is something you're going to be seeing a couple, 3 times a year as we get new information and we update it to share where we're at. So in third grade reading proficiency on the Oregon State assessments, our goal is to be up to 30%. The state average is 39.4. You can see that the last 2 years we've been at 25 and 24, which is below our goal. We do not have and won't have an update on that score until spring. If you look at what we have in-house, we're still looking for 30% of our kids to be proficient. The totals from the years before show that we've made some growth during those years. We're not getting everybody to that proficient exceeding level or even at benchmark level. But when you look at the percentages from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, our kids that are below decreased significantly from 62% to 26% last year. From slightly below, that doesn't necessarily look good. We go from 0 to 27%, but the kids have bumped up. And then at benchmark increased 8 to 20, and we lost one kid in the exceeds piece. The standards do get harder as the year goes. So we had one drop from exceeding to at benchmark. But those numbers show that once we start working with kids, we do good things. If you look at where we're at to start, we are starting out really low this year at meeting or exceeding at 17%. All the 83% others are below benchmark at this point. But that test was taken at the very beginning of the year. You're going to see a great deal of improvement. The things that are happening in the Title I program with the focused area on reading foundations. I think we've already seen great growth. The people that are working with the kids in small groups are noticing huge growth. And we look for that to be demonstrated when we do our January DIBELS testing, I-ready testing. Attendance at the elementary level is still not exactly where we want it, but our goals to start with were 72% regular attenders. Those are from the initial data for integrated programs. And this year, the beginning of the year, we have 73% as regular attenders. And then if you look at each grade level percentage, everyone except fifth grade has gone up. So what that means is that every single day we've gotten over 90% of our kids in each classroom. But when you look at the kids that are absent, there are 27% that struggle to get here every day. So we have a lot of kids that are chronic still, and we're working on those, but our numbers are going up. Same thing in the attendance below at the high school. The target was 72. We hit it 2 years ago. We dropped last year, and we're back really close to start this year. And the average daily numbers are all higher than what the daily average was last year, with the exception of the seniors. That's because Courtney keeps skipping. That's not true. Which you guys know. So that's the information that I have for you there. When you look at our graduation rates, we have had good success. There are a couple of things that Mr. Brown's working through with ODE. I shared some of the data issues we're having with them. So we're working out to make sure that those numbers are completely accurate. This year, we are just starting. We do have a couple of kids in the 9th grade on track realm, 1 or 2 in the 4-year graduating realm that our hard work and intervention as a staff are going to keep that number at 100%. But we've got a couple of kids that are going to make us work. So anything else to add there or with anything else on the data?
Yeah, I think we're talking to these kids early enough in the year that we're going to be able to intervene and hopefully get those semester grades up.
Let's see. Oh, and the one other thing I had for data, I forgot to share in my superintendent report, is that at a glance report with the state. I shared some numbers and they just weren't accurate in several positions. So I have a meeting with the person at ODE that is our contact to find out where they're getting the information, where things are off, or if maybe things are off on our end. And that fixed, but that meeting's not until first or second week in December. That's when they have their
Real quick too, so I pulled up those reports, figured out where they were getting that. And I actually talked with somebody at ODE today who's, you know, sort of the process we have to go through, to get some of that information corrected. So, yeah, so in the class of 2023, according to ODE, we had 9 people in that graduating class, but only 3 graduated. That's not the case. We had 3 students in that graduating class and all 3 graduated.
I believe it's a 4-year, it's that 4-year number. So they take your 9th grade cohort. So they somehow think there were 4 in 9th grade, not 4 in.
So for us, it's the who graduated in 4 years and then who graduated in 5 years. With us, typically that number stays the same. Typically we're graduating close to 100%. And so, yeah, so that 5-year cohort should be at 100% because we graduated everybody. It's the same cohort that was in that 4-year group.
Right, but then they have
Now
one extra year.
Now that's the 5-year group. So that 5 years, if they were 100% for the 4-year cohort, that 5-year cohort should be.
Right, it has to be, yeah.
And so that's, so we just need to correct sort of the numbers that they had as far as the number of students that were in that graduate.
The denominator number is the one that's always trouble.
What's
Like
that?
the denominator number is the one that's always trouble because it,
Yeah, depending
has a
on if
lot
you
of
had
history
kids that
attached
went
to it.
somewhere else.
yes, exactly.
Left the district.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they sent us some instruction on how to go about fixing that, and we're gonna have to go back and put in correct codes possibly and figure out what was incorrect on their data. And so that's why, yeah, they're showing 33% graduation rate because they had us at 9 students and only graduating 3 on time. So that's why.
Okay, then we have the integrated programs for reporting.
Okay, that is this piece of paper in your packet. It's really exciting information. It's really important.
It's so exciting, I can hardly see.
So it is a requirement for us to share these responses to the annual response questions with you and with the public. And then we post it on the website. I'm not sure that anybody has ever looked at these, but we really are making progress towards our goals. Slow but steady in some of those areas. But I also feel like the things that we're putting in place administratively and working on with teachers and getting that buy-in built up, the more that we do and we're consistent, the more that those adult factors are going to transfer into student achievement. So I think you'll continue to see those numbers build. Our biggest challenges have to do with staffing. You've heard all night long about the excellent staff we have, but we need more. And we need more options. We need some options. That was another thing that came out of the public input meeting. The need for the number one need in their mind, besides facilities and stuff, they want a music and a band program back. And we had that position open for 2 years and not one applicant. And so even though we have the money, we have facilities, desire, and we know it's something that would be engaging for our students and what they want and need, it's impossible to put that program on without the right adult, at least an adult. So that's what I put down for our biggest barriers there. Then the other piece that put in is kindergarten readiness. It's across the board in the state. Heard Ashley talk about the social emotional learning aspect of it. flip side is the trauma-informed care piece that ties in with that mental health. There are a lot of students that are trauma impacted for any variety of reasons. But it's our job to navigate those barriers and work around them, help each kid with what they need. So that's what we are trying to do, but those are the two biggest barriers I see are lack of readiness and behavior issues that come out of younger students. And then trying to find good people to help us with that. Any questions?
Can you remind me? I get so confused on which goals go, like where are these goals? Is this goals that the state gave us? Is this goals that we set somewhere?
The questions are the questions that come from the integrated programs, high school success, student investment account,
Okay,
all.
that whole
all of the
integrated guidance. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So all of these are questions that come out of that.
Okay,
And then the answers are my answers
Okay.
based on the work that we're doing. And that we said that we were going to do in that integrated guidance.
okay, so where it says like outcome A and outcome C, that's somewhere in integrated guidance.
Yeah,
Where those are.
Those were co-developed by ODE and had to be approved sort of there.
Okay,
Folks that
okay.
worked through us before
Okay.
they presented to.
okay.
And they were scratching their heads helping us come up with those too, so, yeah.
That was the plan that you worked a lot with Chris
Yeah.
on,
Yeah.
right?
Okay. All right, that connected the dots for me. Thank you.
Well,
Okay, any other questions? Then we're gonna move on. New business, no old business, we're at reoccurring business. So our timeline. Had people who went to the school board meeting?
Yes, we did check that one off.
Yes. I love you, Courtney.
Thank you, Courtney.
Should.
And I will mention, I saw our trainer right when I walked into the Marriott. Janet was right in line in front of me and she apologized profusely for not being able to get back to us on the survey. But she was running the conference, so she's been busy. But she said she and Stephanie will be talking, but hopefully January. Okay.
All right, so we're talking about the self-assessment.
We're talking about the self-assessment, yeah. I guess I jumped to the next item, sorry.
No, that's okay, it's all kind of together, so. Are there any questions about any of that?
What the impression was on the conference, they didn't really have any morsels of wisdom.
I have several. I was gonna do
I
them to
think that
comments at
that's
the end.
comments is where that will come in. Okay, school board superintendent operating agreement. So we were gonna look through the 16 expectation categories and choose the ones that we like the best and then come to a general consensus of what we were going to choose for it. I did my homework.
There it is. There it is.
Okay, does anyone want to open up the discussion of what you were thinking?
I was thinking, I wondered what we do with the one we had before.
I think we were finalized one. We all threw some ideas. We finalized it. I can throw out what numbers I liked. And they all sounded great. So it was really, it's kind of a hard thing to decide. But I just picked some things that seemed, for whatever reason, to me to be at top of my mind right now. So I chose 3, clear vision for the school district. 5, of course, the data one. 9, communicate with board members promptly and effectively. 10, the board agenda at some time period, so we know when it is. And then 15, represent the school by being visible in the community.
We're thinking similar.
Are we? Oh, man.
Okay, so Bob, what about you?
I had only circled 2 of them. There was 2 of the ones that Carol mentioned. Number 3, I feel like that's largely been accomplished, but then it's never actually over because you need to continue to revisit that vision.
Right.
As as we figure things out and see more clearly what could be, vision statement would need to be revisited at least once a year, or is it fine like it is? We can admit. So I felt like everything else I was looking on, there was stuff that was already happening. So, but 3 and 5 were 3 and 15, excuse me, were the 2 that I lit on.
Angel, what about you? 35 and 15. Ones, 5.
Carol, you picked 5 too. didn't you?
And Kareem, what about you?
Change my letters to complicate it. And I actually struggled with feeling like much of what I felt was important was already being provided. While I know that this is not the assessment, it did feel like readjusting my priorities to make sure that what might be missing was actually there. And I felt like number 1 was a really important one. Consistently, because that one seems to encompass every other. And that 5 was a near second. And see, I also came in with feeling like, as a newer board member, I was probably going to have special needs. So I've kind of gone over those and did not expect that to be reflected with us being past experience here. I also had 7 because I do think that the way we present ourselves, the way that we metabolize our vector, where we're headed, how we're getting there. You're our helmsman. You're taking us there. And I expect you to be able to look ahead and tell us. Otherwise, 15 was also, but that I feel like is, we knew that going in. We've seen that happening. We've also seen the positive outcome from that. It's still really important. And that one remained, even though I felt like we had been achieving it, it's still important. Yes.
Okay.
It was 15 was so noticeably absent in the recent past that just gotta have it.
Right. The startling contrast has been, I think, a balm for us.
So I chose 3. I think that it's very important for us as a board to remain aware of what the vision is of where we're going. I chose number 5 because I think data is important in a lot of the things that are in what the board's realm of responsibilities are. I chose number 7. And that one kind of jumped out at me just because it just seems like there's a lot of things happening in the news about things that are happening within schools. And I think Erin already does a very good job of keeping us informed of things that are happening in the district that we might be approached about in the community and stuff. But I think that it's also something that's important enough that we need to keep it at the top. I chose number 15, which seems to be a unanimous one. And I did feel like we've made tremendous progress in that area. And I think the whole culture of the community and the school is blending into a more cohesive community feeling and sense of ownership and sense of belonging. And then I chose number 16 because there's a lot of times if people in the community are talking to us as board members about situations or issues in the school district, and we refer them on to the appropriate person within the school or whatever, to have that feedback of, hey, this is kind of what happened, or at least, yes, the person did follow through and consult someone in the school, helps to keep a pulse on the community and the idea of whether there is closure, and to be able to develop our confidence of encouraging people to address their issues with the school and being able to assure them that, yes, it will be addressed. It may not be addressed the way you want it addressed, but it will be addressed, and, you know, someone's going to listen to you. And so I think that is something that there have been groups within the community have not felt that they were being heard. And I think we've gotten into a place where a lot of times there's misconception about what the board can do and what the board can't do. And to have that ability to refer them to a person within the school that is appropriate to address it, and then to receive information that something happened, even if we don't need to know the exact details of what happened, but to know that there was some kind of So
I also valued number 6, as I felt like there are negotiations or conversations, we'll say dialogue between local governments, and that would take a working knowledge of local policies and abilities, working with other governmental bodies.
I kind of agree with you. I didn't mark it, but especially with, you know, the whole political arena, we just went through elections and all of that, and how the elections might affect the education system, you know, and some of the discussions that have been put out by different elected officials and things like that, that could have an impact on the school. And so to have someone who is aware of, you know, the policies and all of that.
Having somebody literate in that also supports the long range planning, because that could head off a lot of challenges.
Yes. And a lot of wrong direction.
Right? Yeah.
So if we type really small, how many?
No, right now,
One run on.
3, 5, and 15 are pretty much a unanimous agreement by all of us. Number 3 had 4 of us.
Yeah, I marked.
Number 5 had 4 of us, and 15, all of us were unanimous.
Yeah, that's fine.
Well, and after listening to you guys, I'm scrapping 9 and 10, and I'm happy with any of the other ones. You've sold me.
We talked about having 5. Do we want to discuss and extend into 5, or are we happy with the 3? Or any other number that you decide on?
Not 16?
Well, if we were gonna add something beyond the three, I would maybe mention one that hasn't been mentioned yet. And that's 14, simply because this is something that we're already expecting to happen. It's part of the superintendent assessment package that we're gonna be going through here pretty soon. And so I felt like putting 14 in it just
It was a no-brainer.
it was kind of we need to expect this because we're gonna be having to do this. Why not have that be one of the goals?
You've projected the expectation already.
Yeah.
I think I didn't prioritize that one because I felt like we were already on that bus.
Yeah, I
kinda felt
agree.
that way too.
But it's
I-
important to, I mean, if we're.
Yes, it is
to get
important.
there.
You're gonna have a set of goals and things, expectations here. And you're gonna have another set of goals and expectations over here for another process. If you can make them overlap, you get twice the bang for the buck kind of thing, you know?
Yes.
Just,
And it doesn't get overlooked and it doesn't become ambiguous and it doesn't become confusing.
It's not devalued later, since we didn't prioritize it because we already valued.
so 3, 5, 15, and maybe 14.
Still feel like number one encompasses most of them. And I know that it's not very rigid, but I do think that that was something that's communicated during the hiring process. But I feel like
And,
we're there.
and I think like you, that is one that is so much part of my being that I don't even think of stating it as a goal. It's just,
You wouldn't know how not to.
yeah. So I have no disagreement if everyone else wants to put it
Yeah.
on.
So 1, 3, 5, and 15.
And 14.
You know, I think we should, I don't think we should have too many.
I don't either. We talked about having 5, and so.
Mhm.
Is everybody in agreement with those choices? Yeah. Okay. So is that something that we tell Stephanie? I mean, we're officially here, so we take a motion and then.
Order that you want those in, or just put them all in equally, or?
Good question.
Number 15 was unanimous, if you want that to be number 1.
I was thinking maybe 115. Well, yeah, I guess that's debatable.
So when I tried to prioritize things and I found that it was a little challenging to gauge. I made a matrix and I will share it with anybody if you want to. But it did help me understand that you can take it from this and line it up. Be able to go through each one and decide. Is it more or less important than this? And then it's sort of clean cut, move down. And everything gets filed in. But that way you're not comparing apples to oranges. I
feel like 1 and 15 should be paired. One deals with the interaction between Mr. Miller and we as a group. The other deals with the interaction between Mr. Miller and the community. I feel like they're a logical pair.
2 sides of 1
But
coin.
whether you want to put them 1 and 2 or 2 and 1, whichever, I think they probably should be.
Well, and continuing that thought, I think if like the order that they just make sense to me is 1, the team with the board members, 15, representing the community, 3, establishing the clear vision, 5, the data, and then 14, self-assessment. So kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, good.
I like
That
that.
was great.
Yay.
Okay, so number 1 is 1,
Mhm,
number 15 is 2,
mhm.
number 3 is 3.
Yay, 3 is 3.
No, I might throw
Five is
arm wrestle whether and suggest that perhaps 5 should be before 3 because it's the data that's supposed to lead you to it.
Oh, well, now there you go. No, I think we should have the vision and then the data to see
Okay.
where we're at. I think that's
Yeah,
how
I
we
like
do
Okay.
it. And
So
then
5 is 4
5 is 4.
and 14 is 5.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm open to a motion.
Okay, see if I can do this. I make a motion that we add these items to the board superintendent working agreement from this OSBA form. Item 1, item 15, item 3, item 5, and item 14.
Okay, I have a motion. I have a second. Is there any more discussion?
You do have a second?
Yeah, Corinne.
She beat me to it.
She jumped right in there. Al. You snoozed too long on that one. Is there any other discussion? Okay, then I'll call for the vote. All of those who approve the motion to adopt number 1, 15, 3, 5, and 14 as our expectations of the superintendent and the superintendent working agreement. Please raise your hand. It's unanimous. All right. Went quickly. Right, and our next thing is the OSBA election and vote.
What about, it's hard to vote for people that you don't know anything personal about. However, with the Miss Crook is an exception to that. We've met her all over the place. And I don't think there's anybody in the whole organization that's got more years of experience with the group, if that matters. I can't think of any reason that we wouldn't support her, if that's what you want to hear from me.
I would agree with Bob on that one. I would vote Jackie back in. We have the actual ballot in here.
I brought it and gave it to.
Okay, you've got it. Okay. All right, make sure we get in the order.
Does anyone else have any conversation about it?
I also, the gentleman who's running against her, and he might be totally fabulous. I don't know him, but he's also from Roseburg. And so having Jackie here on the coast as our representative seems like that adds some value to us. So.
I would speak on Jackie's behalf. She is faithful in attending like the legislative roadshows. She is aware of things that are going on within the legislature that affects us and affects our schools. She has a school background. She's from Pistol River. So not only is she from the South Coast, she's from down our area, the South Coast. And I find her to be very knowledgeable and very passionate about her work.
I've emailed her. She responds quickly. She was also at OSBA, so she's very active at staying current.
She is the one that runs those little small groups where we meet out with our area. Yeah.
So do we want a motion on each of these, Judy? Is
I
that?
think we should make a motion on each one because we're making a vote for our ballot, correct?
We're making a collective vote, yeah.
All right, I will make a motion that we place our vote for Jacqueline Crook for the, whatever this position is.
Board of Directors.
Board of Directors.
Right.
OSBA Board of Directors. Yep, right there.
A second.
Okay, I have a motion. I have a second. Any discussion? All of those in favor of voting for Jacqueline Crook. Sorry, I'll use her legal name.
Professional.
Please raise your hand. It's unanimous. I didn't bring my ballot with me, but the next thing, is it on the dues?
And then OSBA dues schedule.
It's in your packet. It's page 51, the ballot.
Okay. Maybe flip all the way through it then.
The copier must have been steaming by the time you got these all out.
There it is. Ooh. Thank you, Stephanie. All right, amends the OSBA due schedule. There it is.
The road show and at the convention, that was a topic of some active discussion. Obviously, anytime you start wanting to charge people more money, it's going to be a topic of discussion, I suppose. But the road show, I thought they made a pretty good point when they mentioned that they haven't had a rate increase in the fees since 1998. So how do you keep offering services at a comparable level when your costs have gone up, but your income has not? So I kind of felt like, and the case was made that, that by people who presumably are opposed, you probably got the same email as I did, about the cost being borne by small schools because of the way they structure their fees. They charge small schools more because we use their services more, which makes sense. Okay. But I kind of also felt like that we're being penalized for a lack of economy of scale. And I don't know if that's fair either. Okay. In fact, as I was at the conference and attending one of the meeting, a whole nother, the issue of equity kept coming up here and there, of course, as it will. And I felt that there was a big piece of the equity argument that was being left out entirely. And that was that being a member of and being a student in a small school, it puts you in an inequitable position for nobody's fault, and certainly not your own. And it's not addressed anywhere in the system. We talk about equity for this group for this reason and that group for this reason. I kind of felt like we should be having or forming a letter, something to go to our legislators and say, hey, what about addressing the inequities that come to a school through a lack of economy of scale? We just don't have the students, and all your funding is based on a per capita basis only. And this kind of touched on the same thing for me. So I want to see them get more money because we do use them a lot. Where would we be? Who would we go to for our training and all the the backup we get with legislation, legislative pieces that come down and we have to make changes. We're not lawyers, for heaven's sakes, constant that we're going to them. So I feel like they should be paid to offer those services. I mean, pretty soon they'll be in the same boat we are, right? How do you attract employees, good quality employees, if you can't afford to pay them? So I'm in a weird place. I feel like we should pay them more money. I'm not so happy about the way their fee is structured, where it lands so unfairly, by a factor of, a large factor.
Yeah.
Okay. On small schools. But they're not asking for us to write a paragraph. They want us to vote up or down. And so I don't know what to do with that, because to me, there's two very opposing trends on that.
No, I agree with you completely, Bob. That's very similar to my thoughts. And I also felt a little frustrated. Well, I want to support them. I really appreciate the services of OSBA. I also felt they didn't do a really clear job of explaining why they're charging that way. And when I looked up their financials, it was interesting because the dues are actually a really small part of their income. They have like 75 or $80 million of a huge investment. And so half their income just comes off of the earnings from that money. So, and the dues, I think, if I read it right, they spend somewhere between 8 or 9 million a year. The dues that they pull in are like 600,000. So it's a really small part. And they didn't explain like how much this would bump it up, but they're just really trying to buffer themselves, because if that investment doesn't make as much money or goes down in value, then they start to get
They did mention they've been
nervous.
spending in the red for several years, and so the reserve has been coming
Yeah, I couldn't
down.
really tell that from looking at their financials. I heard that, but it was hard for me to sort that back out again. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know that I agree with you because I wasn't thrilled with the answer I got when I asked the question about adequacy at the legislative roadshow and stuff. And like you, yes, costs have increased, you know, the minimum wage. How many times has the minimum wage raised
Yeah,
in the years since 1998? But I have a problem that I'm paying the same amount in dues as Salem Kaiser is. And Salem Kaiser is right there where they have offices and all of that. So Salem Kaiser wants a training. All they got to do is make sure they have coffee and donuts or whatever, and that the person can drive 20 minutes across town and do their training in person, where for us, who is way down here on the South Coast, and you can't go much further than us unless you're going into the far eastern south corner of Oregon. And, you know, we not only have to pay for their travel, we have to pay for their lodging and all of that. And they even say themselves in their trainings, you know, yeah, we can do it by Zoom, but it really should be done in person. And we're not getting a break on that cost. We have to pay that extra that Salem, Kaiser, Portland, Eugene, those main I-5 corridor, bigger school districts don't have to pay. But then also in their other fee scales and things like that, the way things get charged, it seems like we get charged more than those schools do in the first place. And so to me, that is an inequity. And I have a passion about inequity when it comes to services for the kids in our state. To me, every kid is important in our state, and I don't care if they live in the middle of Portland or if they live in the middle of Podunk, Eastern Oregon, or something, you know, they all deserve to have the same rights of representation and support by their school boards. And so that's my bandwagon, and I'll shut up because it's already been going quite a ways, but I have some pretty passionate feelings about it. So, yeah.
so if we were to vote no, could we send them a letter and explain? Well, seriously, explain, hey, how come this isn't something more like a tax scale, you know, where you know, it's tipped a little bit in, you know, towards the schools that have more students, where they pay maybe a bigger percent of the share per capita or per head than a smaller school was, to just make it more equitable, you know, so if the funds are there. Anyway,
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they came up with that pricing model, because I can totally understand actually how it costs more per capita per student
Oh,
to
yeah.
service us, because
yes,
we're all here and there's only 250
we're far
students.
away. It costs more to send people to see us.
Well, or even just the amount of questions, you know, for one board.
Yeah.
So that doesn't bother me so much, but then the fact that the increase is so heavily weighted on smaller schools seems like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think they could have explained that better. Maybe there's a good reason.
The pricing different.
I can't
Oh, it's in
remember. It was
here.
in our paperwork.
Yeah, I think I saw it in this packet. Ours goes up to like 2,000 or 1,800 or something in 5 years, from 250 to 1,800, I think it's where we go. It's a big jump, yeah.
Inhibiting our access by charging us to see people. To have the in-person instruction.
Well, I saw that.
Yeah, it's in here somewhere, I saw
Is it
it.
in the therefore paragraph?
It's in your packet.
Since 1998, if you think about it in those terms, really, they're behind. But.
It's in the there. Isn't it?
Well, there's a spreadsheet, like, here it is. This one,
This one?
right,
Oh,
the price.
oh, yeah, you're right. It is.
Yeah,
It got her.
so it's by district size.
Those.
No, so we're at 500 now. We go up to 1,800.
For them not doing.
Well, they still pay a lot.
If they have like a 3% cap, like property
Ours are going up.
taxes, I might be more.
Okay.
They said it's 15% a year. But if you're under 1,500, they ratchet you up at 250 a year, which is more than 15% to get you up there. And then once you have 1,500, it's 15%. So then the percentage is the same after you get to that threshold. But
Thank you.
short term, it's more. And then if you look at the per capita cost, it's definitely pretty different.
I guess that I would say I'm willing to vote yes. Because, like I said, 1998, we're talking 26 years.
Yeah.
And I do understand prices have increased, like I said, in wages. So I would support the increase. I just still have the problem with the inequities.
And have an element of empathy for a body that has chosen not to, or not been able to. That was their choice, not our choice. We didn't keep them back from 98. That is
Yeah.
their choice.
Mhm. Yeah.
Should we be penalized for that now?
I don't know.
And I haven't been around long enough to know, have they attempted to increase their fees over the years? Have just been voted down or just haven't asked?
I don't.
They seem pretty proud of the fact that they have not increased their fees.
That's true.
And then they're not increasing fees on any of the other services. At least they didn't mention that. It's just the dues, not any of their other.
So is it fair to assume that $250 a year would not kill us?
Yes.
So, yeah. how does it reflect on that?
So,
Now that we've got all that out.
Well, I can't remember how much we put in our school area or budget last year, but I mean, I don't think we even spend the whole thing in any of our years and stuff, depending. I think these last couple of years, we've had more people attend the conventions and stuff in the past, but I still don't think we're
well, that's a good,
close to spending.
that's a good angle. If we have a budget that we're not spending, let's spend it on this.
All right, I'm going to make a motion that we approve the dues increase. I'm just
I
going to
have a
float that.
motion to approve the dues increase. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and I have a second to approve the dues increase. So we're back to discussion. Is there any discussion?
It's worth it.
Just that I think we should send Jackie a letter protesting the steep,
Would you rather that be individual or at the group?
I don't think it carries much weight for me as an individual. I think we would need to do it as
And
a,
it couldn't come from you as an individual representing the board.
Does it have to be your board? So someone would have to put the letter together
And the board
and it would have to
approve it.
come to the board and be approved by the board. So
well, I'll volunteer to write you a letter.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so I have a motion on the table that we are voting yes to adopt the amends of the dues schedule with
We
a
said,
composition of a letter to be approved by the board to send to Jackie or to send to whoever is elected as our
that's true.
whatever that title is, board of directors representative.
My muckety muck.
Anything adjustment, I would second that.
Okay. Is there any more discussion? All right, then we're gonna take the vote to vote yes on the amendment of the dues schedule with an accompanying letter from the board that will be written and approved next board meeting. All of those in favor, let's raise your hand. It's unanimous. Yes. Okay, and so number 3 is to create the Oregon School Board Members Pride Caucus and designate a seat on the OSBA Board of Directors and Legislative Policy Committee.
This further recognizes them as students.
I'll second. I have a motion and I have a second. Is any discussion?
I would just mention that last year when we voted, we had the rural caucus question and we were all kind of lukewarm, and I think we just abstained. So at this OSBA convention, I actually sat in on, they had a rural caucus meeting and breakfast, and both Bob and I sat in, and I had to like eat some words. I was actually very impressed, the very competent management of that group, actually, as opposed to sitting around and complaining about all the things about rural schools. They actually were working on some cohesive statements and communicating. They had members of other caucuses drop into some of their meetings and gone away saying, oh my gosh, I never thought about rural schools. Like the colored caucus, I think they call it, or whatever its official name is. They, somebody from that caucus had sat in and actually learned a lot because he or she was probably from a bigger city. So it seems to have some real value. So I signed up and joined. So I'm a little more warm and fuzzy on caucuses now. But they did mention too at the legislative roadshow that they are starting to get kind of cautious about how many caucuses they can handle. And so they're putting the brakes on after this one, and they're going to make some more plans around caucuses. So.
And as a follow-up on that, that was what scared me. And this is another one where I would throw it on the table that we could submit some kind of comment, because my main concern about it is we have all kinds of different groups. And so right now we have the Color Caucus, we have the Rural School Caucus, now we're talking about the Pride Caucus, and they're wanting to stop it at that. So what happens to your special education students? What happens to all of those different groups that could come up who they're saying, okay, because we only want so many. And in the future, if they are having other caucuses, then I would like to have an option that, every group doesn't just get grandfathered in, but that maybe there is an election of which caucuses have members on the board because they get a vote. I don't
Further
know.
marginalized.
Yeah. I've forgotten, did we have a motion?
Yes, we did. And a
Okay, so
second.
we have a motion and a second to approve the Pride Caucus and designate a seat on the OSBA Board of Directors and Policy Committee. Is there any more discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand.
I'm going to abstain.
Okay. Okay, Bob abstained. All right, and then to adopt the proposed amendments to the OSBA bylaws.
I'll make a motion that we approve the amendments to the OSBA bylaws.
Okay. Have a motion. Second, is there any discussion?
One line, it was in the whole thing.
There's, yeah. I
I
don't think
have to
there's
admit,
anything
there was so
scary.
much of it, I didn't get a chance to read.
Yeah. I don't think there was anything dramatic.
Okay, I had a motion and I had a second. Did I have a motion?
There was a motion. Was there a second?
Second.
Corinne seconded.
Okay.
All right, any other discussion? Right, all of those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous. Okay, voting is done. We're moving on. No first reading of policy. We're at the second reading of the personal electronic devices and social media policy.
That one is in your packet. And the update for the graduation requirements, Mr. Brown set in front of you, and that had the yellow highlight.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
It was in the packet.
Okay. I will make a motion that we approve JFCEB and IKF policies.
And are we doing them both together?
Wait a minute. Is IKF an AR or is IKF?
There's
Just double.
IKF and then there's
Okay.
IKFA.
And then does IKF change or is IKF?
IKF did not change.
Okay, so we don't need to approve it. It's just there.
That's what Shane's gonna
Yes.
do about.
Okay, and we don't need to approve the AR because it's an AR. It's just information. Okay, so let me revise that. So I will make a motion that we approve policy JFCEB, the personal electronic devices and social media.
Second.
I have a motion and I have a second. Is there any discussion?
I do have a question. Actually, I have two questions. The policy, and I think this is an Oregon state law thing. I just don't know what it means. This paragraph that says independent communication means communication that does not require assistance or interpretation, blah, blah, blah. Does anyone know what that actually means? It's just, I read that sentence 3 times tonight and I could not make it make sense to me.
Is that like the devices that they have now for like the people who have speech
Yeah,
or
augmented.
Okay,
communication.
okay.
it's like a communication system?
Okay, so it's excluded in some places in here. Okay. And then my only other question here is that you guys feel that the way this policy is written now, it gives you the control that you want, but doesn't put you in an undue set of having to exempt
Yes,
everything.
because we've been, well, no, we haven't, because it's by the principal, but the pictures that were taken.
Right.
with those are an example of what potentially could be banned by this policy without change.
Mhm. And then the paragraph that says devices which have the capability to take photographs or record audio or video shall not be used during instructional hours. So that's referring to personal electronic devices only, not camera devices.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay,
And Mr. Brown still has the ability to approve those things.
okay, okay.
It just doesn't force him to do
Okay.
it every single time a kid's taking a picture for some
Okay.
of the class.
Okay,
This allows them to have fun off class time and still have important construction.
Well, the other piece of all this is it just makes it allowable. We are still gonna, if there are issues where inappropriate pictures were taken, something came up that required discipline, this doesn't change any of that. It just makes the appropriate use of phones and cameras accepted.
Okay, is there any other discussion? Okay, all of those who approve the adoption of the second reading of JFCB, let's raise your hand. It's unanimous. And then I'm still a little confused about the IKAR because We didn't change the, like, the policy, but the AR is the part that changed. And we don't make AR because that's the administration. So are we saying yes to the IKF policy because this changed, or are we just acknowledging that it changed and we're moving
I
forward?
think that policy was in there so you could see how it matched with the AR, but there is nothing to change, so there's nothing to approve.
No emotions. Okay.
And that, but that does meet the new state requirement, the grad requirement. It surprises me why they didn't change IKF, but they have down the pipe.
Okay.
You'll see, you know, the big changes are adding the personal financing college experience, which required as of class of 2027, and also lays out students can earn an honors diploma.
All right, we are at our agenda at the place for board comments and reports. And Corinne had asked about if there was any information from the board convention.
We saw some great Mexican dancing. They had a fantastic middle school band that played jazz. Great.
Oh, it was phenomenal. It was really phenomenal. Yeah. There was just a couple of notes that I had. A lot of discussion on the same things we've been talking about, the board versus superintendent roles and partnerships, and some panels, including one Krista was on, about boards and superintendents working together. And it confirmed a lot of the things that we're looking at. A lot of people were really pleased with the OSBA training, the OSBA survey, if we could get there. So it kind of confirmed for me that what we've chosen to do makes a lot of sense. At least people seem happy with it. Bob showed you the nifty laminating thing. Other boards said they had laminated their working agreement or their goals, just so they had things. I mean, you wouldn't want all of those, but think about things that you might want actually in front of your face at every meeting might be a useful idea. I kind of like that. I attended a session on aligning superintendent and board goals, and they pointed out to us that the board, when we set our board goals, we should all know our roles in achieving those, that we're not supposed to just set out board goals and then hand them to our superintendent to do them. So that was a good point. Like that, even if there is something the superintendent has to do, there may be ways in which the board supports that, attending meetings or participating in something. They stressed that when we're looking at and reviewing data, to look at both the good and the bad data, to not focus on just the good data, that it builds community confidence and really helps build the culture that you are looking at what's working as well as what's not working and trying to target your work where it needs to be. And Aaron sent out an email on this, but they really stress the importance of legislative advocacy, and they're working to build school board members who are wanting to or able to testify to your legislators. They stress the importance of building relationships with your legislators before you need it, possibly invite them to a board meeting. And we know David Brocksmith attended school here, right? And so he would be a really good one to see if we could get to it. I mean, he used to be on the board. Yeah, he used to be my neighbor on the board for a while. So, and then there's that December 18th meeting with the South Coast legislators that's attempting to build those connections. I'm not quite sure what's going to happen there. I talked to you about the rural caucus. Oh, and then another feature on the rural caucus that's kind of nice on the equity side is that with some of the money that they get from OSBA, they are offering scholarships. So they can send money to us to attend an OSBA conference or bring training in. And to apply for that, you just apply as an individual person once you join the rural caucus. So they have a scholarship application out right now that's due by November 30th, and it's just a little one pager. But I thought I joined the rural caucus and I thought I would try to apply, because if we can get it, we can get funding to actually bring a trainer in. So that was nice. They did not have any finance sessions on this one, which I thought was kind of a shortcoming. But they did point me to, there's a webinar on school finance that's in OSBA, and I actually watched it, and it is pretty good. I learned a lot of stuff that I didn't know on how school funding works. And so I would encourage you to look for that. It's, if you go to the My OSBA resources, you dig down through, there's a thing that says webinars, and it's buried in there. But it was actually really good. And then I mentioned about Jake Arnold, the journalist that publishes the OSBA stuff. He also told me, I did not know this, there's a, I brought copies for you guys here. You probably already have that, Bob. He publishes a thing called ORED News, and you may already get that. We're supposed to get it when you join OSBA, but he said the sign up doesn't work very well. I was never getting it, but it's a little daily digest of news. So that's all the first item on there. If you're not getting it, that tells you where to go to sign up.
There were that ORED news was mentioned in several of the.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, what is this? So no.
There's a couple things that come out of that every week, so I read that every time.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of it is, when you click through the article, it's behind a paywall, but at least you can kind of see what it's about. So, but yeah, I just got it this week, and it's like, I already feel smarter.
There was some discussion that caught my attention about board members having a presence in the school on a regular basis.
Yes, yes.
And it wasn't, and they emphasized that it wasn't about, okay, just walking in, scaring somebody's pants off. Okay. But you need whatever the local expectation is for a board member to attend, to be in the school building needs to be honored, but that we really did need to be there. Okay. It's pretty hard to know or get a feeling or understand what's going on in a school if you're never there. And so that kind of sunk in for me, because I had thought I was going to be down here on a pretty regular basis, and I haven't been. So I think that's something we need to all.
Different schools had different ways they set that up.
They did,
Some
that's right.
had like learning walks where the board would go through some kind of structured walk. One super I sat next to was inviting board members to like sit in on PLC sessions. It just kind of depends on what the situation is in the school and the board.
And I think we would be open to figuring out all those pieces. I think a couple things that pop into my mind right off the bat on that are just setting appointments. And then understanding that the walk and being in the schools is so much about observation and understanding what's going on.
Yeah.
It can't be about making comments and giving suggestions. Because the minute those things start to happen, then every single person in this building goes from one boss or, a secondary boss to having 5 more that are at it, because there's school board members. And if you talk to somebody, they feel like I have to do this. And that is breaking role.
Mm-hmm.
So that observation piece, knowing what's going on, being able to speak intelligently and know those happenings, I think is critical. Remembering that role piece, and Ashley said something when she left, oh, just give me an email and a call, which sounds pretty benign, but in terms of accessing staff, if you were to do that, it really should be something that comes through me, and then I talk to Ashley, get that information and return it to you. And it seems there's parts of that seem ridiculous, especially at how small we are and we want to be a family and everything. But when things don't go right, that's where it's so critical. So do things that way when everything's going well. Then when things don't, then we're already on the right track for dealing with it right away. My 2 cents.
Yeah.
Somebody at the convention told me that understanding your lanes up front makes those traumatic situations way less traumatic when you get there. So that was a really good point.
Yeah, and maybe, maybe that could be partially alleviated in a faculty meeting to just let folks know that if a school member shows up, we're not here to to critique your performance as a teacher. We're
Yes.
just here to observe and to know what's going on in the school.
That's a critical piece. If we get to that point where things are going and we come to the agreement, the meetings on how those are gonna work, sharing with staff is a critical piece. Yeah.
I had one area of concern while I was attending the rural school group, and I think that I was afraid. I think that the lines are being pretty strongly blurred between rural and small. And this actually came up in the discussion because one of the groups, you can apply for an exemption or an inclusion as a rural school, irregardless of your size. So there are schools in there that had 5,000 members, 5,000 students or more. Now, having a school with 5,000 students, you could be remotely located. That would make you rural, I would suppose. Okay. But it certainly does not put you in the same category as a little group like us. And I kind of felt like that the small group or the small school concern was being lost to the rural school concern, and that was being blurred considerably in terms of who's actually, becoming a member of this. And again, I felt like I feel like small schools should deserve a special consideration that we're not getting, no matter where it's located, okay? If you're small and rural, it seems to me like you ought to be getting a double dose of special care,
And with
I
your
agree.
boutique schools in urban areas, then that you would have to differentiate how that.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of feel like they need to be both, and I haven't seen that yet. In fact, what I saw was making me think it was going the other way.
Yep.
Because I could envision already some little splinter group in, say, Salem, okay, who decides that they're unhappy with the situation in their school. You splinter off, a small little group. Oh, we're a small school. We get special attention in our smack dab in a highly urban area.
Well, in our county group where I was before, Scappoose and St. Helens would talk about being small.
Yeah,
Because we were in meetings with Beaverton and Hillsborough and Tigard,
yeah.
but they are not small. They're not even close to being small.
Yeah. Anyway, so I was concerned about that, but on the whole, I encourage all of you to have a chance to go, because it really is informative and uplifting to kind of rub elbows for a few days with people who've been doing this for a gazillion years, got lots of experience, who are willing to share that experience and
Most of the topics that they have are relevant to what we are learning when we go
Yeah.
to. It's a different perspective, different depth probably, but your topics, there are a lot of them that are similar. Because they're the topics of the day that we are working on. And then you get to hear the side from what we're doing, but also from the board perspective.
yeah, it's worth it.
Thanks for learning more about the rural caucus and keeping an open mind. Yeah, talked about it before and he was really enthralled.
Okay, so we're at executive session, and Aaron, I'm just asking the protocol for doing this. We have been in a meeting for almost 3 hours. I would like to take a 5-minute break. And so do we take the 5-minute break, then reconvene and go into executive
Yes, we
session?
have to officially announce that we're going into executive session.
Okay, so let's take a 5-minute break. People get up, walk around, do whatever, get a drink of water. And then when we come back, then we'll declare and go into executives.
What is the executive session?
Okay, so after that quick break, we will be going into executive session to discuss ORS 192.660 to A, employment of staff, and ORS 192.660 to B, staff conduct.
All right, is there something that we have to hit to record?
It's recording.
Perfect.
Okay, we're back in general session. And I am open to a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion, I have a second. Is there any discussion? Corinne's already doing the vote. If you raise your hand. Okay, meeting adjourned.
Thank you all.